In the darkest corners of our ancient past, beneath sacred lands and forgotten cities, lie tunnels so vast, so precise, that modern science still cannot explain them. Were they made by lost civilizations, or built for purposes we were never meant to understand? Tonight, we descend into the earth, into shadow, into the unknown. This is not legend. This is not myth. These are the most unsolved megatunnels found beneath ancient civilizations. Chapter 1. The tunnels beneath Teotihuacan. Beneath the earth, hidden from the eyes of millions, something ancient sleeps. A tunnel, lost in time, carefully carved by hands no one remembers. It is not just a tunnel, it is a riddle. And it lies beneath one of the most enigmatic cities in history, Teotihuacan. This is not a story of pyramids above the ground. It is a story of what waits beneath them. A passageway not meant to be walked. A place not meant to be found. Teotihuacan, the city of the gods. Built more than 2,000 years ago, it remains a marvel of urban design. Its avenue of the dead runs straight and wide, aligned to celestial points. Its pyramids still rise high, resisting time. But no one knows who built it. There are no names, no statues of kings, no historical records. Only stone, silence, and speculation. Even the mighty Aztecs, when they discovered Teotihuacan centuries later, believed it was built by gods. They claimed it was where the sun and moon were born. But they had no idea who the true architects were. Under the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, archaeologists would uncover a clue. Not a ruin, not a relic, but something even more puzzling. In 2003, heavy rains opened a small sinkhole near the temple. Beneath the soft earth was a shaft. Deep, straight, unnatural. It dropped more than 40 feet before stopping at a sealed tunnel. It had not been touched in nearly 2 millennia. It was a discovery no one expected, and few could explain. As researchers descended, they found the tunnel stretched over 300 feet, ending in a series of chambers. The passage was narrow and claustrophobic. The air was stale, the silence thick. But what they found inside was even stranger. Scattered along the tunnel were dozens of spheres. They were perfectly round, metallic in appearance, and coated in pyrite, known as fool's gold. Some were small enough to hold, others too large to move. They were not simply placed, they were arranged. Deliberately, purposefully. Like they had been waiting. No civilization in the region was known to craft objects like these. They were not religious idols, not tools, and not decorative. Their purpose remains unknown. But one thing was clear, they were meant to be there. As archaeologists moved deeper, they found something even more unexplainable. On the floor of the final chamber, shimmering under flashlight, was a trail of mercury. Not spilled accidentally, but flowing in a controlled line. A liquid mirror, reflecting the black ceiling above. In ancient Mesoamerican cultures, mercury was seen as sacred. A portal to the afterlife, a gateway to the gods. But its presence here suggested more than just ceremony. It suggested function. It suggested technology. Why was mercury placed in a hidden tunnel beneath a pyramid? What was it meant to reflect? Or perhaps, what was it meant to activate? Above the tunnel stood the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Its stone carvings depict open-mouthed serpents with wide eyes, facing downward. Some believe they serve as guardians, warning intruders. Others say they are guides, pointing toward hidden truth. But no writing explains their meaning. No language accompanies the art. Just stone, unblinking, watching. The deeper one looks, the more the question grows. Was the pyramid built above the tunnel, or was the tunnel created beneath the pyramid? And if it was created first, what came before all of this? Archaeologists noticed something strange. The chambers at the end of the tunnel appeared to have been emptied, but not looted. No signs of forced entry, no damage. Just removed. Deliberately, carefully, long ago. Before the tunnel was sealed. The tunnel was not destroyed, it was closed. As if whatever it once held had served its purpose, or become dangerous. The ceiling was clean. Precise. Final. Like someone wanted this place to disappear. Years later, researchers scanning the area detected another tunnel. This one even deeper. Longer. Still unexcavated. When electronic equipment was brought near, it malfunctioned. Batteries drained, signals dropped. Sensors failed, but only near the entrance. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe, something down there is still operating. Still generating energy, still waiting to be awakened. The site is now closed to further excavation. The tunnels are documented, photographed, and sealed again. What was found is still not understood. What was not found may be even more important. Some believe it was an initiation chamber. Others think it was a vault for sacred knowledge. And a few, those who whisper, say it was a machine. A forgotten device, built for a purpose we no longer comprehend. Teotihuacan remains silent. Its streets echo with forgotten footsteps. Its pyramids point to the stars. And beneath it all, something ancient remains. A tunnel built by unknown hands. filled with impossible objects, lined with liquid metal, sealed before memory began. Not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some are meant to remind us that there is still much we do not know, especially beneath our feet. Chapter 2. The Endless Maze of Derinkuyu. Beneath the gentle hills of Cappadocia, carved by time, lies a secret that defies imagination. A labyrinth not meant for lost tourists, but for those who seek the edges of human possibility. This is Derinkuyu, the underground city, a world beneath a world, a place where stone became shelter, commerce, sanctuary, and perhaps something more. In 1963, a simple renovation opened a doorway to the past. A wall gave way as a homeowner hammered at his cellar, revealing a hidden passage. Not 8 feet deep as expected, but 80. The corridor led downward, into darkness without end, and thus began the unearthing of a city lost beneath the plains of Anatolia. At first, locals whispered about wine cellars, storage rooms, places to hide from raiders. But what emerged was far greater. An entire network of tunnels, rooms, stairways, carved into volcanic tuff, stretching over 18 stories deep, capable of sheltering 20,000 souls, yet built by hands whose names remain unknown, whose reasons remain mysterious. Imagine walking into a smooth stone corridor, your footsteps echoing softly, walls narrowing at points to barely shoulder width, stalactites and stalagmites long removed, replaced by arches and pillars hewn with precision, light only from flickering torches, the air cool, the silence profound, as if the mountain itself held its breath. Locking mechanisms appear at every turn, circular stone doors with deep grooves, massive discs weighing upwards of 500 kilograms, rolled into place to seal passages, each with a central hole just large enough for a man's hand to pull it open or push it closed. An ancient security system, unmatched in the surface world, reminding us that whoever built this was prepared for siege, prepared for threat, prepared for oblivion. Descend further, and you find living quarters with stone benches, sleeping niches, narrow windows for airflow, interconnected kitchens with massive hearths, ventilation shafts running like veins through the rock, storage rooms with clay jars still on shelves, oil lamps long extinguished, churches with rock-hewn crosses, wine presses for sacred ceremonies, all silent, all frozen in a moment of abandonment. There are wells that plunge deeper into the water table, communal ventilation shafts 10 meters high to circulate air, and stables with stalls for the livestock, paths that narrow to corridors barely 6 feet tall, as if forcing those who enter to bow their heads, subordinates to the majesty of the mountain. Archaeologists mapped only 8 of the estimated 18 levels, because beyond that, passages become too narrow, too unstable, too dangerous, equipment fails in the deep, electronic devices flicker, batteries die, compasses spin without cause, as if the Earth's magnetism is warped by unseen forces. Legends speak of hidden chambers, rooms filled with ancient machinery, relays of mechanical cylinders, perhaps for grain grinding at scale, or for something more esoteric, a device to channel geothermal energy, to distill precious metals, to harness volcanic heat. Those claims border on myth, but the deeper zones remain closed, guarded by the mountain, guarded by the stone doors, guarded by time itself. The question echoes through every corridor. Who were they, those hidden architects? Was Derinkuyu built in a single era, or pieced together over centuries? Did priests guide the work? Did warriors demand protection? Did families descend generation after generation, teaching their children the art of stone carving in darkness, passing down rituals of light and sound and silence, until the last lamp flickered out, and the city was sealed forever? Local lore tells of invasions, of Persians, Romans, Byzantines, Ottomans, each wave of conquerors above ground driving the people below. But no record explains why the city was finally abandoned, why the doors were never reopened, why the place was allowed to sleep again beneath the earth. Some believe Derinkuyu was a refuge, a fallout shelter for an era of volcanic winter, a silo for seeds, for livestock, for humanity's survival. Others suggest it was a ceremonial underworld, a place to commune with ancestors, a labyrinth for rites of passage, the inner sanctum for those who could survive its depths. Then there are the whispers, the fringe ideas that speak of resonant chambers, acoustic nodes carved into rock to generate harmonic frequencies, a sound-based technology to heal or to command, a sonic grid beneath the earth, an ancient sound lab far beyond modern comprehension. If such theories hold any truth, then the walls of Derinkuyu might still carry echoes of voices sung centuries ago, waiting for someone to listen. Today, the site welcomes tourists to only a fraction of its depths. The rest remains closed, marked danger, do not enter, but explorers and researchers gather in Cappadocia, studying drone scans, LiDAR imagery, ground-penetrating radar, attempting to reveal the unmapped levels, proposing new excavations, yet bureaucratic red tape and preservation laws stand as modern stone doors, intent on protecting heritage, perhaps on preserving secrets. In laboratories, samples of tuff are analyzed under microscopes, ventilation shafts studied for airflow dynamics, pyrite spheres from the tunnels tested for composition. They reveal trace elements from beyond the region, implying trade, contact, exchange, but not one document explains their purpose, not one inscription names their makers. Only the silent tunnels, waiting. Derinkuyu does not yield its secrets easily. It stands as a testament to human ingenuity in the face of unknown perils. A city not built for convenience, but for necessity, or perhaps for something that transcends survival. A portal between the living and the dead, a sanctuary from the storms above, a monument to what we cannot see. The mountain holds its breath for those who descend. The corridors wind back upon themselves, leading explorers in circles. Or so the stories go, a maze without end, where time stands still, where the only sound is your own heartbeat echoing in your ears, and the thought that beneath these tunnels, something waits to be rediscovered. The doors may rust, the torches may die, but Derinkuyu remains, a silent guardian of ancient mysteries, reminding us that the greatest discoveries are sometimes buried in darkness, waiting for the brave, the curious, the persistent, to walk into the unknown, and bring light to what was never meant to be seen. Chapter 3. The Subterranean Labyrinth of Malta. At the center of the Mediterranean, where waves whisper and stones remember, lies an island far older than its maps. Malta, known for its sun and sea. But beneath its surface, something else is buried. Not a ruin, not a tomb, but a labyrinth. The place where sound shifts, where chambers hum, where people once vanished, never to return. This is not a legend. This is the hypogeum. In 1902, workers digging for a new house in the town of Paula struck something unexpected. Their pickaxes hit hollow stone. Not bedrock, but chambered emptiness. At first, they tried to cover it up. Construction was delayed. The discovery too strange, too unexplained. But soon, archaeologists were called in. What they found would become one of the most mysterious underground structures in Europe. They named it the Halseflini Hypogeum, a word that simply means underground in Greek. But nothing about it was simple. The hypogeum is a 3-level structure, carved entirely from limestone. No bricks, no mortar, only bedrock. It goes down over 30 feet, level after level, chamber after chamber. The upper level appears functional, with carved cisterns and storage spaces. But the deeper levels, those are different. Smooth walls, spiraling passages, false doors carved into stone, and in the deepest level, the strangest feature of all, the oracle room. Step inside this small chamber and speak, even a whisper, and your voice transforms. It echoes, vibrates, amplifies, not randomly, but tuned. Researchers tested the room and found it resonates at 111 Hz, a frequency known to affect the brain, to trigger altered states of consciousness, to induce trance. This chamber was not a coincidence. It was designed, with intention, with purpose. Some say it was for ceremony, others for healing, and some believe it was a place where the living met the dead. More than 7,000 human remains were once found in the hypogeum, stacked in alcoves, some carefully arranged, others scattered. But among them, certain skulls drew attention. Elongated, smooth, with missing sutures. Unlike typical human skulls, they were sent to museums, studied briefly, then quietly disappeared. Today, only a few photos remain. The official explanation? Deformation from ancient rituals. But some researchers disagree, pointing to differences in bone structure, in volume, in symmetry. The mystery remains unresolved, and the skulls remain missing. The hypogeum was never just one space. It once connected to a larger network of tunnels, passages that have since been sealed, blocked, or forgotten. Early records mention corridors stretching for miles. Some claim they reached nearby temples. Others whisper they went beneath the sea. And then there are the stories. Stories of school children who entered one of these tunnels during a field trip, but never returned. Only the teacher emerged, unable to speak of what happened. The entrances were sealed soon after. The story was never officially recorded, but it is still told in hushed voices across the island. Malta's surface is dotted with megalithic temples, older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge, built with stones weighing over 50 tons, aligned to solstices, carved with spirals and symbols whose meanings are long lost. But the people who built them left no name, no language, no clue. The hypogeum appears to be connected to this ancient civilization, But its purpose, its construction, its silence, all remain unanswered. The stone tools found nearby could never have carved such precision. And yet, the walls are smooth as if melted, curved as if molded. Acoustic engineers, neurologists, and mystics have all studied the hypogeum, each drawn to the oracle room. Some suggest the entire structure was built as a sound chamber, a place to alter the mind, to meditate, to connect. Others believe the resonance was meant for healing, that chants, drums, or instruments would activate the chamber, triggering vibrations that moved through the rock and into the body. And then there are the more fringe theories, that the hypogeum was a communication device, not for people, but for entities. That the frequency itself was a signal, not just inward, but outward. Today, only a few visitors are allowed into the hypogeum each day. The air must be carefully filtered. The stone cannot be touched. The deepest levels are closed. Too fragile, they say. Too unstable. But some believe it is because those levels hold something else. Something the world is not ready to understand. No more excavations are allowed. No new studies. Just preservation. As if the structure is not a mystery to be solved, but a memory to be left alone. Beneath the homes and churches of modern Malta lies a world untouched by time, where sound bends, where walls remember, where something once sacred was carved in silence. The hypogeum is not just a structure. It is a question, a chamber of echoes, a whisper from a civilization that vanished without a trace. Its tunnels may be sealed, its skulls may be missing, but its resonance still lingers. And in that sound, in that vibration, the past may still be speaking, waiting for someone not just to hear, but to truly listen. Chapter 4. The Forgotten Passages Under Tikal. Deep within the jungles of Guatemala, where the air is thick and time moves slowly, stone towers rise above the canopy like ancient sentinels. These are the ruins of Tikal, once a mighty Mayan city, a kingdom of kings, calendars, and conquest. But what we see above is only part of the story. For beneath the vines and temples, beneath the tombs and pyramids, lie tunnels, buried chambers, and sealed corridors, a hidden world that still defies explanation. This is not a myth. It is not speculation. It is what lies beneath Tikal. Tikal was once the beating heart of the Mayan world, a city of more than 90,000 people. Its temples stretched toward the heavens, aligned with celestial events. Its architects carved limestone like clay. Its priests watched the stars and interpreted time. But even at its peak, Tikal guarded secrets, rituals held in silence, chambers carved in darkness. And the deeper archaeologists dig, the stranger the discoveries become. In recent decades, advanced scanning technologies have changed everything. LiDAR imaging, which cuts through jungle canopy and soil, revealed something extraordinary. A hidden network of tunnels and passages crisscrossing beneath Tikal. Some follow the foundations of temples, others connect plazas. But many lead into the unknown, descending into areas not yet explored. The tunnels are not random, they are angled precisely, aligned to certain stars, or to specific calendar dates. This was not utility. This was intention. Some of the tunnels were found beneath reservoirs. Water, for the Maya, was sacred. Cenotes and underground rivers were seen as entrances to Xibalba, the underworld. It is no accident that certain tunnels appear to lead directly under bodies of water, or that the floors of these passages are coated in minerals, stained by centuries of flow. Were these just aqueducts, or were they ceremonial channels, built for processions of the dead, or for the living to descend and return transformed? Some believe priests walked these paths during solstices, their torches flickering off wet stone, the water reflecting the fire, the echoes of their chants still trapped in the rock. In 2018, a discovery shocked even the most seasoned researchers. A narrow tunnel was found behind a collapsed wall near Temple 3, carefully sealed with stone, as if to protect something inside, or to keep something from getting out. The tunnel led downward, not just under the temple, but away from it. As the team pushed forward, the temperature dropped. The air grew heavier, and then the signal from their equipment began to fail. Lights flickered, cameras glitched, and the passage ahead was suddenly unstable. They retreated, and to this day, the tunnel remains unexcavated. The official reason? Safety concerns. But unofficially, the team reported feeling watched. A presence, they said, that could not be explained. Some archaeologists propose that Tikal's underground network forms a labyrinth, a deliberate maze used in spiritual initiation. Young acolytes would be sent into the tunnels, forced to navigate the darkness, to face fear, hunger, isolation, emerging days later, reborn, stripped of self, filled with vision. The Maya believed that transformation required suffering, and that true understanding came only after walking through the underworld. These tunnels were not shortcuts. They were trials. Certain tunnels, when mapped, align not with practical routes, but with star clusters, with constellations tied to death, rebirth, and prophecy. One passage points directly toward the setting of Orion's belt during the winter solstice. Another curves gently until it matches the arc of Venus' transit in the sky. These were not random constructions. They were embedded into the landscape with knowledge of the heavens, as if the builders were anchoring the stars to the stone. Some tunnels end abruptly, as if the builders stopped mid-work. But the stone is not rough. It is smooth, as if intentionally closed. There are theories that these tunnels were meant to continue, but something made them stop. Or perhaps they were always meant to be incomplete, a message that not everything must be finished to hold meaning. Still, explorers report strange echoes at these dead ends, whispers that repeat in patterns, footsteps that follow but do not lead. In 2005, a team of researchers installed sensitive sound equipment in several underground rooms. They hoped to study echo patterns and acoustics. What they recorded, however, remains unexplained. Low tones, rising and falling like breath. Chant-like rhythms, impossible to trace. And once, a distinct voice speaking in a dialect no one could identify. The tapes were sent to experts. The response was silence. No follow-up was made. The project was quietly shut down. Today, those tapes are locked in a university archive, labeled environmental anomalies. But some who heard them still remember. Tikal is more than stone and story. It is a city that remembers. Its towers reach to the stars. Its plazas once filled with music and ritual. Its kings long buried beneath altars of power. But the true heart of Tikal may lie beneath all of that. In the forgotten corridors, the sealed doors, the unseen chambers where darkness lingers. Not every tunnel leads outward. Some spiral inward, toward questions we are not yet ready to answer. And in those tunnels, the past still walks. Not as ghosts, but as echoes, waiting for someone to hear them, and to understand. Chapter 5. The Sealed Door Beneath the Sphinx. On the Giza Plateau, where sand stretches endlessly and the past still breathes, there stands a creature carved from stone, gazing silently across time. The great Sphinx, half lion, half man, carved from a single block of limestone. Its body is weathered, its face eroded, yet it remains unshaken, unmoved. For thousands of years, it has watched over the pyramids, guarding secrets deeper than stone. But beneath this ancient guardian, beneath its paws, lies something that has stirred debate, inspired exploration, and ignited fear. A sealed door. A chamber no one is allowed to open. And a question that refuses to go away. The Sphinx is older than history admits. Some Egyptologists claim it was built around 2500 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. But others disagree. They point to water erosion on its body, suggesting a much older origin. Thousands of years older, perhaps, long before dynasties rose and fell. The stone itself has no inscription. No cartouche to name its creator. It is as if the Sphinx was never meant to be claimed, only to be witnessed. What, then, is it guarding? Why does it face east, directly toward the rising sun? And why does it rest on a limestone platform with signs of artificial leveling? In the early 1990s, geophysical surveys were conducted around the Sphinx using ground-penetrating radar. The results were astonishing. Several cavities were detected, including a rectangular chamber directly beneath its paws. Roughly 25 feet below the surface, with clear, straight edges, unlike natural formations. The scans showed it was hollow. Not just a crack or a cave, but a room. A sealed chamber that had never been entered in modern history. Some researchers believed this could be the mythical Hall of Records, a repository of ancient knowledge, said by some legends to have been hidden by an advanced civilization before the flood. Long before the radar scans, a man named Edgar Cayce, the famous American mystic, spoke of a hidden library beneath the Sphinx. In the 1930s, he claimed that survivors from Atlantis brought records of their civilization to Egypt. They sealed these records in a chamber, to be discovered when humanity was ready. Cayce even predicted that the chamber would be found in the late 1990s. And when the ground-penetrating radar revealed the rectangular anomaly beneath the paws, believers were convinced his prophecy was coming true. But what followed was not an excavation. It was silence. After the discovery, requests were made to excavate. Scholars, independent researchers, and even private organizations offered to fund and oversee the project. But permission was denied. The Egyptian authorities refused all proposals, stating preservation concerns. They claimed the chamber was natural, that the anomalies were not evidence of man-made construction, and the matter was considered closed. But the question remains, if there is nothing to find, why not look and prove it? Why does the government refuse to allow further exploration? What is being protected or perhaps hidden? In 2008, a team using more advanced scanning technology found something else. Another anomaly, this one on the side of the Sphinx. A vertical shaft, possibly a staircase or a hidden entry point, leading down. It aligned precisely with the chamber under the pause. Again, permission to dig was denied. Tourists can still visit the Sphinx, but they are not allowed to go near its base. And no one is allowed to approach the area where the anomalies were found. The entire region is under constant surveillance, and excavation is strictly prohibited. Theories abound. Some believe the sealed chamber contains ancient scrolls, a forgotten language, or even technology lost to time. Others suggest that the chamber might be older than Egypt itself, the last remnant of a pre-dynastic civilization wiped away by global catastrophe. A flood, a comet, or an event so profound that history had to begin again. Then there are those who believe the Sphinx is not a monument, but a marker, a signpost built above something far more important than any single statue. A map to knowledge, to truth, or to danger. Those who stand before the Sphinx often describe a strange feeling. A heaviness in the chest, a sense of being watched, as if the stone itself is aware. Visitors have reported vivid dreams after standing near its base. Dreams of chambers, symbols, strange light. Of descending stone staircases that seem to go on forever. Of doors that open into blinding brightness. Are these just coincidences? Or is the Sphinx more than stone, more than sculpture? Is it a memory locked in limestone? Every decade, technology improves. Every year, more data confirms that something exists beneath the Sphinx. And yet, the door remains closed. Not for lack of tools. Not for lack of interest. But for reasons we are not told. We are told to look at the surface. To study the structure. To admire the craftsmanship. But not to dig. Not to open. Not to question. The sealed door beneath the Sphinx is more than a mystery. It is a symbol. A boundary between what we know and what we are not allowed to know. As the sun rises over the Giza Plateau, the Sphinx watches. It does not speak. It does not move. But it remembers. And beneath its ancient pause, the past waits, sealed not by stone, but by fear, by control, by the quiet understanding that some truths must remain hidden, until someone dares to ask, and someone is finally allowed to open the door. Chapter 6. The Lost Network Beneath the Amazon. The Amazon, vast and untamed, stretches like a green ocean across South America. Its canopy hides more than wildlife, more than winding rivers. It conceals memories, civilizations swallowed by vines and time. And under that thick, tangled silence, something deeper lies buried. Not just lost cities, but tunnels. A network of passageways carved beneath the jungle floor. Whispers of a forgotten engineering marvel, now barely visible, but never fully erased. For centuries, the Amazon was believed to be untouched, an endless wilderness, raw and primal. But recent discoveries have shattered that idea. Using LiDAR, a laser-based scanning system that penetrates the forest canopy, scientists uncovered straight roads, geometric shapes, canals, and signs of urban planning beneath the trees. The jungle had not grown over emptiness. It had grown over design. Among these discoveries was something even stranger. Regularly spaced mounds and depressions, circular voids that did not belong to natural formations. When scanned further, some connected, some led downward, and thus began the search for the tunnels. Deep in the heart of the Peruvian Amazon lies Shunadimpishka, also called the Boiling River. Its waters reach near boiling temperatures without volcanic activity nearby. The locals consider it sacred, protected by the spirits of the forest. And not far from this river, researchers found unusual stone structures, blocks of basalt out of place, aligned in patterns. When the ground was scanned, voids were detected, long, narrow, and consistently aligned. Were these the first signs of an underground network? Was the heat from the river related to something deeper, something ancient still operating? In northern Brazil, along the banks of the Rio Negro, petroglyphs line the rocks. Not just drawings, but maps, lines, tunnels, and branching corridors, some matching the terrain above, others seeming to describe what lies below. One glyph, a spiraling series of lines leading to a central chamber, matched the shape of a discovered underground cavity nearby. When water levels dropped during a dry season, a natural entrance was revealed, a tunnel blocked by collapsed stone. Locals claimed it had always been there, but none dared enter. In the 17th century, Jesuit missionaries wrote of strange stone roads beneath the jungle. One account from 1639 described walking for hours beneath the forest, through narrow corridors lit by glowing insects. He claimed the tunnels led to stone cities now covered in vines, and that the native guides refused to go further, saying the place was cursed. His letter, once dismissed as fantasy, is now studied with fresh interest. For what he described, straight corridors, vent shafts, connecting chambers, matches modern LiDAR discoveries that should not have existed at that time. In 2021, a Brazilian research team, working with remote scanning technology, mapped a section of forest near the border of Bolivia. What they found was staggering. Underneath 10 kilometers of jungle, a grid-like system of tunnels ran east to west, intersecting chambers every 500 meters, perfectly aligned to the cardinal directions. These were not caves. The walls were straight, the floors leveled, but the material? Basalt and other volcanic stone not found in the immediate area, carried, shaped, and laid by hands we cannot name. Explorers who have reached some of the collapsed tunnel entrances report strange acoustic behavior. Voices echo unnaturally. Whispers carry down the passage even after a person has gone. One researcher claimed to hear chanting from a sealed corridor. He returned days later with audio equipment. What was captured remains unexplained. Low rhythmic patterns, like drums or breathing, pulsing from within. No animals were nearby. No tribes had been seen for days. Some believe the tunnel systems are the remains of a unified mega-civilization, one that spanned the rainforest long before the rise of the Inca or Maya. Others argue the network was shared, passed from tribe to tribe, like a secret highway beneath the earth. The tunnels may have served as trade routes, or emergency shelters, or ceremonial paths. But one thing is certain: the engineering skill required to carve, align, and ventilate such a system goes far beyond what history has taught us about pre-Columbian tribes in the Amazon. Today, much of the area sits under government protection. Deforestation is condemned, but so is exploration. Teams requesting permission to excavate tunnel sites have been denied, citing ecological risk or cultural preservation. Local tribes, when asked, give quiet warnings. They speak of ancestors that lived under the ground, of places where the air changes, where light bends, and where the jungle goes silent. They advise staying away. The Amazon is not just a jungle. It is a memory wrapped in green. And beneath that memory, stone speaks softly. Tunnels stretch unseen, built by forgotten minds, guided by stars, aligned by spirit. No books speak of them. No museum displays them. But they remain, waiting for dry seasons, for shifting soil, for someone to listen. Because beneath the forest, the past is not buried. It is sleeping. And some say, not all of it is asleep. Chapter 7. The Echo Chambers Beneath Ellora Caves. In the rocky heart of Maharashtra, India, where stone meets silence and silence holds memory, there lies a complex of caves carved by human hands, but shaped, some believe, by something far beyond. The Ellora Caves, 34 monasteries and temples, cut directly into the basalt cliffs, stretching across 2 kilometers. Their architecture is astonishing, their detail flawless, but it is what lies beneath them that has become the source of whispers, tunnels, chambers, echoes that do not behave the way echoes should, sounds that travel without origin, rooms that feel deeper than they are, and questions that rise from the stone like breath. Among the Ellora caves stands one structure above all others, Cave 16, known as the Kailasa Temple, a marvel carved top-down from a single rock, with no scaffolding, no seams, and no written record of how it was made. It is said that over 400,000 tons of rock were removed to create it. Yet no debris was ever found nearby. No tools, no drafts, no plans. And beneath it, sealed beneath the main chamber, is a doorway, one that has remained closed. A chamber below the temple, where no footsteps echo, because the air itself feels different. In Cave 12, a Buddhist structure known as the Tin Thal, there is a side room, nondescript, empty. But when a person whispers in one corner, the sound travels clearly to the opposite corner, over 30 feet away. It does not travel in a straight line. It bends around the walls, hugging the stone. Researchers have studied the acoustics, but no clear explanation has been given. It is not simply good design. It is intentional manipulation. Some suggest the chambers were tuned as instruments, not just for music, but for ritual. Near the southern end of the caves, 2 tunnels descend from Cave 29. Both appear to have been sealed, not by collapse, but by placement. The stones are aligned too cleanly, too precisely. When tapped, the sound on the other side is hollow. There is space, but no one is allowed to dig. Locals say these tunnels once led to underground libraries. Others say they descend for miles, connecting to places long forgotten, even rumored to reach the Ajunta Caves, over 100 kilometers away. In the 19th century, when British surveyors arrived at Ellora, they recorded hearing low tones beneath their feet in Cave 10. One officer described it as a distant hum, like wind through a pipe. But there was no wind. They lowered rope into a crack near the rear altar, and heard it strike stone far below. But when they returned days later, The opening was filled. Not naturally, but sealed. Their report was archived. And then forgotten. No excavation was ever permitted in that spot again. In 2016, a team of sound engineers conducted experiments inside Cave 15. They played a range of frequencies and recorded the room's reaction. At precisely 114 Hz, the stone vibrated. Not visibly, but audibly. The sound became fuller, deeper. Monks chanting at that pitch would have caused the entire chamber to resonate. Not just with sound, but with sensation. This phenomenon is known as binaural resonance, a technique used to alter mental states, to induce trance, or even out-of-body perception. The caves, then, were not simply sacred. They were engineered to awaken something within the visitor. One sealed entrance beneath Kailasa has no visible lock. Only an imprint, a symbol eroded by time. Impossible to translate. Behind it, radar scanning has revealed a void. An empty pocket roughly 10 meters wide. But the government has placed strict regulations. No digging. No entry. The official reason is preservation. But some suspect more. A former archaeological intern once leaked that the chamber interferes with instruments. That compasses behave erratically nearby. That microphones pick up interference when placed at the door. An old legend, rarely spoken, tells of 3 monks who entered a lower chamber beneath Cave 21 centuries ago, on a pilgrimage to reach the undersound. Only one returned. He spoke of tunnels that hummed, of voices without mouths, and of light that pulsed from the walls. He refused to speak further, and lived in silence for the rest of his life. No such chamber has ever been found, but no one has looked for it either. The cave was closed, not collapsed, but even today, visitors report strange sensations. A sudden shift in pressure when entering certain caves. An overwhelming emotion near silent corners. A sense of not being alone. Sound behaves oddly. In some rooms, footsteps echo forever. In others, they vanish completely. Tour guides acknowledge this quietly, but discourage lingering, especially near the sealed tunnels. They smile, but their eyes flicker with something else. A warning. The Ellora caves are more than stone. They are sound given form. A symphony of silence carved into a mountain. And beneath them, a deeper song hums, one we are not yet allowed to hear. The tunnels may be sealed, the doors locked, but the echoes remain. Not of footsteps, but of memory, of ritual, of something waiting in the quiet, something that listens, even now, for the one who knows how to listen back. Chapter 8. The Forbidden Chambers Beneath Mount Shasta. In Northern California, where pine forests stretch endlessly and clouds cling to the sky, a lone mountain rises, snow-capped and silent. Mount Shasta, a place of serene beauty, sacred history, and legends whispered through generations. But beneath its calm exterior lies something stranger. Something hidden. Stories speak of hollow chambers deep within the mountain. Passageways not carved by nature, but by something else. Something ancient, possibly pre-human. That vanished without leaving behind anything except the tunnels. And the silence. Mount Shasta is a dormant volcano, geologically understood, yet spiritually untouchable. Native American tribes revere it. To the Wintu, it is the birthplace of the world. To others, a holy site where the sky and the earth meet. But even the earliest traditions warn of something beneath. They speak of strange vibrations, of voices carried on the wind, of tunnels that breathe. In some places, tapping the earth produces echo patterns, suggesting large hollow spaces far beneath the surface. Spaces that have never been officially mapped. Perhaps the most persistent myth tied to Mount Shasta is that of the Lemurians. According to legend, Lemurians were survivors of a great ancient continent called Lemuria, a civilization that sank beneath the ocean long before recorded history. They supposedly took refuge inside Mount Shasta, building vast underground cities, chambers, and tunnels. Their technology, it is said, surpassed anything we know, and their knowledge of the earth allowed them to shape it from within. Strange? But the origin of this story is not a recent fantasy. It traces back to the 1800s, and to first-hand reports by those who claim to have seen these underground dwellers. In the late 1800s, a man named Frederick Spencer Oliver published a book titled A Dweller on Two Planets. He claimed it was channeled through him by a being living in a vast subterranean complex beneath Mount Shasta. The book described domed chambers of glowing crystal, corridors of white stone, and machinery powered by what we would now call magnetic energy. Skeptics dismissed it, but others took it as a revelation. Soon after, stories began to surface of hikers vanishing, of glowing orbs moving in and out of the mountainside, of voices speaking in unknown languages deep in the forest. In the 1980s, a private research group attempted to conduct sonar scans beneath the southern slope. They claimed to have detected symmetrical underground structures, square in shape, arranged in a pattern. Before they could publish their findings, their access was revoked, their equipment confiscated. The land was suddenly declared sensitive environmental terrain. Some say the government knew more than it admitted, that those underground formations had been known for decades, maybe even centuries, and that someone, somewhere, wanted them to stay forgotten. Near Panther Meadow, a location revered by locals, an old ranger once spoke of a cave hidden behind thick brush, a tunnel descending sharply into darkness. In the 1950s, 2 hikers reportedly found this same opening. They followed the path inside for nearly a mile, until the walls began to glow faintly with a bluish hue. Then a sound, like wind, but deeper. And then, nothing. They turned back, but the trail was no longer there. The tunnel had sealed itself. Or perhaps they were never meant to return. Certain areas around the base of Mount Shasta have strange electromagnetic properties. Compass needles spin, cameras malfunction, drones lose signal. Some visitors report a pressure in their ears, as if descending in an aircraft. Others describe a low humming sound, barely audible but constant, as if something large and mechanical is sleeping beneath the earth. Geologists claim there is nothing to worry about, that volcanic rock can cause such disturbances. But the same pattern has been recorded near ancient tunnel sites elsewhere in the world. Perhaps the strangest reports come not from explorers, but from dreamers. Over the years, dozens of people from around the world have come to Mount Shasta, claiming that they were called, not by voices, but by visions. They dream of descending stone stairs into circular rooms lit by crystals, of tall beings with robes and glowing eyes, of floating objects suspended without strings. They arrive with no prior knowledge of the legends, yet their descriptions match those of stories written more than a century ago. How can strangers, disconnected by time and culture, describe the same chambers? Local guides, those willing to speak off record, say there is still an entrance. It lies beyond the known trails, where the trees grow too perfectly aligned, where the birds go silent. The path leads to a smooth wall of rock, unremarkable to the untrained eye, but marked by symbols, carved so faintly they can only be seen at sunset. The door does not open with force, or with tools. It waits for something else. A resonance, perhaps. A sound, a frequency, a presence. No one has opened it in modern memory, but many have tried. Some never returned. Mount Shasta stands quiet, a monument to mystery, a cathedral of clouds and stone. Its slopes are walked by hikers, admired by travelers, feared by those who know too much. But beneath its beauty, beneath its forests and snow, are passages still untouched, chambers that hum with stories too old to name. They are not ruins. They are not myths. They are waiting for the right moment, the right seeker, or perhaps the right silence. Because beneath Mount Shasta, the past is not dead. It is hidden, and it listens. Chapter 9. The subterranean city beneath Cappadocia. In the heart of central Turkey, carved by wind and time, lies a landscape unlike any other. Fairy chimneys, strange spires, and soft stone valleys stretch endlessly. It is a place shaped by nature, but hollowed by hands. This is Cappadocia, a land known for its beauty, but hiding something far older than it seems. Beneath its surface lies a world forgotten by history, a city carved downward instead of upward, a labyrinth of rooms, tunnels, ventilation shafts, and halls, all beneath the earth, the city underground, and no one knows who built it. In 1963, a man in the town of Derinkuyu knocked down a wall in his basement. What he found behind it was not dirt, but a dark tunnel. Curious, he followed it, only to uncover a hidden level, then another, then another. Soon, archaeologists arrived. They unearthed an underground city that stretched more than 18 stories deep, a space large enough to house over 20,000 people, complete with food storage, kitchens, stables, wells, and chapels. Everything needed for life, hidden far below the surface. And this was not a single structure. It was part of a vast network. Derinkuyu was not built with modern machines. The tunnels are cut into volcanic rock, soft when first carved but hardening over time. Yet the precision is undeniable. Air shafts provide perfect ventilation, reaching down from the surface like stone lungs. Water was sourced from deep underground wells, ensuring survival even under siege. There are rolling stone doors, circular and heavy, designed to seal corridors in case of invasion. These doors were balanced so well that a single person could close them from the inside, yet they could not be opened from the outside. But how did they do this? Who were they? And why did they build downward instead of up? Derinkuyu is not alone. Cappadocia contains over 200 known underground cities. Many are connected by long tunnels, some stretching for miles. One passage, over 5 kilometers long, leads from Derinkuyu to another underground city called Kamakli. Some tunnels have collapsed, others remain unexplored. Whispers of chambers no one has entered in centuries. There are signs of even deeper levels that modern equipment cannot yet access. It is as if an entire civilization lived below, out of sight, and out of memory. Historians suggest the Hittites or early Christians carved these spaces, that they were hiding from persecution, escaping armies and invaders. But the oldest layers of the tunnels are far older, far deeper, and built with more precision. The Christian symbols are painted, not carved, added after the fact, meaning these chambers already existed, already had a purpose, long before anyone sought shelter inside them. Some suggest the tunnels were created to escape the harsh Anatolian climate. Others believe they were spiritual sanctuaries, used for rituals in total darkness. But none of these explanations account for the sheer scale. In 2014, Turkish archaeologists discovered yet another underground complex, this one beneath a modern city. Initial scans suggested it may be even larger than Derinkuyu. Since then, access has been restricted, excavation halted, official explanations vague. But the early reports described something unusual, a central chamber, square in shape, with perfectly aligned walls and no debris, like it had never been used, or had been sealed before it ever was. And around it, the faint outline of something circular, not a tunnel, but a ring, a structure with no known purpose. Visitors to the open parts of Derinkuyu report strange sensations. In some tunnels, breath becomes heavier, not from poor air, but from a feeling, as if the space presses inward, as if sound travels differently. A low vibration can sometimes be heard in the distance, like stone breathing, even when the caves are silent. One audio technician claimed the frequency resembled ancient temple resonance, not noise, but tone. And in these moments, even the most skeptical tourists pause, as if the city itself still remembers. Several sections of Derinkuyu remain blocked off. Heavy steel gates bar the way. No entry signs hang from rusted chains. Local guides avoid questions. Officials say they are dangerous, unstable, but some believe these are the oldest sections, where carvings no longer follow known language, where the walls are blackened, not by fire, but by something else. One old story tells of a corridor that turns upon itself, like a spiral, leading nowhere, and at the center, a door with no handle, no hinge, only a smooth surface of stone, as if it waits. Derinkuyu is no ruin. It is not decayed. It is preserved, protected by the earth itself. It was not abandoned in collapse, but in choice. Some believe the builders never left, that their descendants still live below, hidden in levels no one dares to enter. Others say the city was always meant to be sealed, to protect something, or someone. And until we understand what that is, the deepest tunnels will remain dark and sacred. Cappadocia's beauty hides its depth, and beneath its valleys and spires, an entire world sleeps in silence. A city without sky, built not to rise, but to vanish. Its rooms wait in the dark, its doors still closed, and its purpose still unknown. Because some cities were never meant to be seen, only remembered, in stone, in silence, and in time. Chapter 10. The Black Void Beneath the Gobi Desert. The Gobi Desert stretches across northern China and southern Mongolia, a sea of dust and rock, shaped by time and silence. Its winds howl across empty plains, and its nights grow colder than ice. It is a place that looks lifeless, but beneath the surface, it holds a secret darker than the sand above it. A black void, an opening beneath the desert floor, too large to be natural, too symmetrical to be coincidence. No maps show it, no signs mark it. But for centuries, travelers have spoken of the ground that hums, the night that whispers, and a place where sound disappears. Long before satellites, before scientists and surveys, nomadic tribes moved through the Gobi with stories instead of maps. One tale spoke of a cursed zone, a patch of desert where horses refused to walk, where compasses spun, and travelers never returned. It was called the Steppes Mouth, a place where the earth opened like a throat and swallowed sound and time. To this day, herders avoid certain areas near the Nemegt Basin. They speak of echoes with no origin, footsteps that sound delayed, and shadows where there should be none. In 2010, a team of researchers scanning the Gobi for ancient trade routes noticed something strange. Satellite imagery revealed a massive circular indentation, barely visible with the naked eye, but unmistakable in thermal and topographic scans. The formation was nearly perfect in symmetry, roughly 700 meters wide, and seemed to absorb heat rather than reflect it. When drones were sent to survey the area, several malfunctioned. They lost signal. Their footage corrupted. Of those that returned, the data showed something chilling. A sudden drop in elevation. As if the desert floor dipped into an unseen chamber. A void with no visible entrance. Locals have long known about a strange ridge of black stone near the Byangkonga region. Unlike the surrounding sandstone and gravel, this material is smoother, denser, and darker. It forms a curved line, like the rim of a crater. Geologists claimed it was volcanic rock, perhaps a remnant of ancient eruptions. But core samples taken in the 1990s revealed no volcanic signature. The material was unknown, neither natural nor metallic, but something in between. And beneath that ridge, ground-penetrating radar detected hollows, structured hollows, with right angles and repeating patterns. Not caves, not erosion, but construction. In 1996, a small team of independent explorers claimed they had located an entrance. A sinkhole near the edge of the ridge, partially obscured by dunes. They lowered a camera and recorded 5 minutes of video. The footage showed descending walls, lined with what looked like etchings or panels. The team never released the full footage, only still frames, before they vanished entirely. Their campsite was found weeks later, with no signs of struggle, but no bodies, no footprints, just silence. The sinkhole was gone, as if it had never been there. Recent geological surveys in the area recorded an ultra-low frequency vibration, emanating from deep underground. The hum occurs at regular intervals, every 38 hours, and lasts for 6 minutes. It is below the range of human hearing, but not beyond the reach of our bodies. People who stay near the zone report nausea, pressure in their skulls, and strange dreams. One scientist described it as a silent alarm, as if something below is still active, still functioning, or still waiting. In 2022, construction workers building a new trade route uncovered a narrow shaft, roughly 2 meters wide, descending at a sharp angle. What was strange was not just the shaft, but the material lining it. Stone tiles, uniform in shape, covered in an oily black coating. Attempts to photograph the inside failed. Light was absorbed, not reflected. Even the flashlights appeared dim within it. Before any further exploration could occur, the site was sealed by authorities. The official explanation was a geological hazard. But the workers knew better. They had felt the cold, heard the absence of sound, and seen the dust rise upward, instead of falling. Perhaps the most unnerving feature of the Gobi Void is its silence. Not ordinary quiet, but a deadening of sound itself. Animals avoid the area. Even insects go still. Wind drops to nothing. Footsteps make no echo. Voices lose their edge, as if the earth swallows vibration. Microphones placed near the zone record only static, or strange pulses of energy, regular, mechanical. Not random noise, but rhythm, timed and deliberate. Theories swirl around the void beneath the Gobi. Some say it is the remnant of a pre-human civilization, one that fled underground to escape an ancient catastrophe. Others believe it is not a city, but a vault, a chamber built to contain something, not shelter it. A few researchers even suggest the void is artificial on a scale we cannot comprehend, constructed not by hands, but by minds unlike our own. The size, its silence, some, all point toward a purpose. But what that purpose was, and whether it has ended, no one knows. The Gobi is a place forgotten by time, but not untouched. Beneath its dunes lies more than emptiness. There is geometry, there is structure, there is intention. The black void remains sealed, unexplored, unclaimed, but not unfeared, because some silences are deeper than others, and some darkness does not sleep. Chapter 11. The tunnel that breathed beneath the Andes. High in the mountains of South America, where the sky hangs low and the peaks scrape the clouds, the Andes rise like ancient sentinels. Their stone faces have seen centuries pass, empires fall, and mysteries take root. Among these towering cliffs and snowbound ridges, a legend persists, not of gold or glory, but of a tunnel. Tunnel that moves air, like lungs in stone. A tunnel that breathes. And unlike any cave or mine, this passage was not carved by pickaxe or water. It was shaped with precision, with purpose, and with silence. Along the ancient Inca roads that once stretched from Ecuador to Chile, there are unmarked paths that break away from the known. Hidden trails that twist behind waterfalls, or disappear beneath moss-covered stones. One such path near the ruins of Choqquequirao leads to a crevice in the rock. Barely visible, easily dismissed, but those who step inside describe a sudden change. The temperature drops, the air thickens, and there is a wind, not from the outside, but from deep within, pulses softly, like breath exhaled from below. In 1585, a Jesuit missionary named Padre Miguel Vasquez documented a strange experience near Cusco. He wrote of discovering a tunnel hidden beneath a collapsed shrine. Inside, he and his companions heard a sound, a steady inhalation, like the mountain itself was alive. They ventured in. The air was cool, but dry. They walked for hours. But the further they went, the more their torches dimmed, not from lack of fuel, but from something in the walls. His final notes describe a chamber with smooth, black stone, and a pressure that made his ears ring. He wrote, "We have reached the lung of the mountain." His writings were never published. The original journal disappeared from church archives. Only fragments remain. In 1997, a team of geologists mapping tectonic stress zones near the Vilcabamba Range recorded an anomaly, a region where barometric pressure dipped dramatically over a small area. In the field, they discovered a narrow fault in the stone, barely wide enough for a man to squeeze through. What lay beyond was unexpected. The floor was flat, the walls smoothed, and every 30 seconds, a faint gust of wind emerged from the darkness. It wasn't random. It was rhythmic. Not a draft, but a breath. Their instruments malfunctioned. GPS froze. Compass needles twisted in circles. They left, and when they returned a week later, the passage was gone. Local Quechua legends speak of the Pacarak Tunu, the breathing mouth of the earth. It is said to lie deep beneath the Andes, a place the ancient builders sealed not out of fear, but out of reverence. Descriptions match certain features found near Sacsayhuaman, where underground tunnels, long sealed, are said to connect to distant ruins. Some believe the air that moves beneath these sites is part of a network, a system built to carry more than just breath. Some say it transported sound. Others believe it carried something far more mysterious: energy. In 2015, a Peruvian caver documented a chamber near the town of Ayacucho. Roughly 10 meters in diameter, its walls were perfectly round. What shocked him most was what he didn't hear. There was no echo. He shouted. He clapped. He played a horn. Nothing came back. It was as if the room swallowed sound, like it was built to absorb vibration. He placed a small speaker in the center, played a low-frequency tone, and the walls began to hum. Not just vibrate, but resonate. The tone shifted. The pitch rose. Then the wind began. A slow exhale from a crack in the floor. He left immediately, and has never returned. Beneath Machu Picchu lies more than stone terraces. Ground-penetrating radar scans have shown large hollow regions deep below the structure, but excavation has been denied. Archaeologists have long suspected there is an entrance hidden in the Temple of the Sun, where shadows align only twice a year, revealing a thin line on the floor. In 2009, an unauthorized exploration team entered a sealed crevice. They described a tunnel, narrow, smooth, and filled with strange gusts of air. It descended for hundreds of meters, then opened into a chamber unlike anything they had seen. Black stone, smooth as glass. No inscriptions. No light. Only wind. And silence. They emerged days later, shaken and silent. Their footage never released. One of them wrote a single sentence in his field journal. "The mountain is alive." Could a tunnel truly breathe? Modern architects use passive airflow in structures, but this goes beyond function. Geologists have proposed a natural explanation: shifting air pressure between mountain cavities, thermal expansion, airflow through faults. But none of these account for the rhythm, the timing, the consistency. Some believe the tunnel is not breathing, but venting, that something below produces heat, or energy, or sound, and the tunnel releases it, slowly, steadily. Not a malfunction, but design. In the Andes, nothing is without meaning. Mountains are spirits, caves are entrances, and tunnels are transitions. The breathing tunnel may not have been built to connect places, but to separate them, to contain something, or to keep something hidden. There is a theory that it was part of an ancient machine, a system spread across the mountains. And this tunnel is just one valve, one vent, of something larger, something we can no longer see. But the breath still comes, softly, regularly, like a sleeping creature deep in the earth. Not dead, only dreaming. The Andes have held their secrets for millennia, but none as quiet, as haunting, as the tunnel that breathes. Its purpose remains unknown, its builders forgotten, but its rhythm continues. Inhale, exhale, over and over, stone lungs, still working, a forgotten heartbeat of a lost world, echoing through the mountain's silence, waiting for the day when we finally ask, not what it does, but what it remembers. Chapter 12. The Forbidden Vault Beneath Lake Titicaca. In the high plains of the Andes, where the air is thin and time feels frozen, lies the shimmering surface of Lake Titicaca, a place of peace, of reflection, and of legend. But beneath the waves, beyond the reach of sunlight, lies something hidden. A vault. Sealed, silent, and untouched for centuries. Its presence is known to few. Its origins, to none. But those who live nearby speak of it. Not as a myth, but as a warning. Because what lies beneath this lake is not just ancient, it is sacred, and it may not want to be disturbed. Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world. Resting at over 12,000 feet above sea level, it straddles the border between Peru and Bolivia. To the Incas, it was the birthplace of their gods. A sacred place where the sun and moon rose from the water, and where the founders of their empire first emerged. But long before the Incas, other civilizations lived here. The Tiwanaku, the Pucar, and they left behind no grand temples above water, but signs below. In the 1960s, local divers began whispering of strange formations at the bottom. Stone structures, too straight, too deliberate, to be natural. They called it the city beneath the lake. In the early 2000s, an international research team funded by the Bolivian government conducted sonar scans of Lake Titicaca's southern basin. What they found shocked them. Massive rectangular formations. Stone walls aligned at perfect angles. And at the heart, a circular structure surrounded by concentric stone rings. It resembled a vault, or a tomb, but it was buried beneath meters of silt and centuries of silence. Local Aymara elders were consulted. They nodded slowly. "We do not go there," they said. "That place belongs to what came before." One of the most mysterious discoveries came from a diver in 2003 who found what appeared to be a stone wall, rising nearly 4 meters in height, with a perfectly smooth center. It had no handles, no carvings, only faint indentations that formed a strange geometric pattern. It resembled a doorway, but was sealed tight, immovable, not by collapse, but by design. Attempts to drill or scan through it failed. The stone resisted all tools, and sound pulses were absorbed into the structure. It was not just a wall. It was a barrier. Divers have long reported strange sensations in the southern depths. A sudden shift in temperature, bubbles rising from no visible source, and a faint, rhythmic current, as if the lake itself was breathing. One diver, descending near the edge of the vault structure, reported a low vibration in his chest, like a hum felt rather than heard, and found himself in an air pocket, 30 meters below the surface. The pocket had dry stone ceiling, and markings, faded symbols, like eyes, or stars. He returned days later with a team. The pocket was gone. The lake had sealed itself. In 2000, Bolivian archaeologist Hugo Boero Rojo led an expedition that uncovered ceremonial artifacts near the underwater site, gold figurines, stone bowls, symbols resembling both Tiwanaku and Incan styles. They were found precisely around the vault's perimeter, as if offerings had been placed long ago, to guard something, to contain it. Local shamans called it the temple of the water god, and warned that the vault was a doorway, not to another place, but to another presence, one that watches from beneath the waves, still breathing, still waiting. Satellite readings over Lake Titicaca show something curious. An electromagnetic blank spot, a small region where signals distort, radios falter, and even drones drop. It is centered exactly above the vault's location, and it shifts slightly, as if responding to time, or to movement below. Engineers have no explanation. The lake is not deep enough to cause such interference, and there are no known mineral deposits. It is not natural. It is something else, as if something below is cloaked, deliberately hidden, and that cloaking is still active. Fishermen on the lake's southern edge often speak of lights beneath the water, moving slowly, silently. Some say they appear only on nights with no moon. Others report a low pulsing sound, like drums echoing from below. Twice, whole sections of water have begun to bubble, only to fall still minutes later. In both cases, local elders gathered near the shore, whispering ancient prayers. One old woman said, "They are not ours. They are not of this world." No further explanation was given. Was the vault beneath Lake Titicaca a tomb, the temple, or something far more unsettling? Some researchers believe it may be part of an ancient containment system, a place not built to worship something, but to trap it. Others suggest it is a machine, a generator of unknown origin, still humming beneath the waves. And a few, quietly, have said it may not be ancient at all, but placed there more recently, by someone who still watches. Its silence is not the silence of abandonment, but of a door that should not be opened. Lake Titicaca sparkles in the daylight, a mirror for the gods, a place of legend, love, and legacy. But below, where no light reaches, where the air turns cold and the pressure thickens, lies the vault, unopened, unexplained, and unforgotten. Because some doors were never meant to swing wide. Some places were not meant for us. And beneath the sacred lake, the vault still waits. Not sleeping. Not dead. Just watching. Chapter 13. The giant shaft discovered beneath the Sahara. The Sahara Desert is a sea of sand. A barren ocean stretching across North Africa. Silent, sun-bleached, and lifeless. Or so it seems. But beneath the endless dunes, under centuries of shifting sands and forgotten winds, something unnatural has been found. So deep no light reaches the bottom. So perfect in shape it cannot be natural. So silent it seems to swallow sound itself. Its walls are smooth, its origin unknown, and its purpose still hidden. The Sahara has always guarded its secrets. But this one, it almost feels like the desert wants it buried. In 2018, a satellite scan conducted by a geological survey team revealed a strange anomaly near the Libyan-Algerian border. The radar image showed a nearly perfect circle, roughly 100 meters wide, its edges casting unnatural shadows. When rescanned using subsurface radar, the pattern deepened, descending vertically in a smooth cylinder. At first, the team thought it was a collapsed well or ancient sinkhole. But the size, it was too large, and the sides were too straight. They had found a shaft, buried beneath meters of sand, and no record existed of its creation. An exploratory drone was sent to the site. It arrived intact. The sand shimmered in the heat, a flat landscape, until the sand began to shift. A circular depression slowly revealed itself, like the desert breathing out. The drone descended, capturing footage of the shaft. Perfectly round. Walls carved, not eroded. Darkness absolute. Then the footage stopped. The drone signal cut out. No transmission. No error code. Just silence. The coordinates were flagged, then removed from public geological databases. It was as if the shaft had never been there. In a dusty archive in Cairo, an Italian researcher found something curious. A 12th century map showing a pit of the gods, located deep within the desert. The text was faded, written in Coptic script, but one phrase stood out. Here lies the voice of the wind, not to be awakened. Scholars dismissed it as myth, but the location marked on the map matched the satellite anomaly exactly. Legends from desert nomads speak of a cursed well, one that sings at night, where travelers disappear without sound, where no birds fly overhead, a place even the sand avoids. In 2019, a private expedition funded by a European university made its way to the site. They brought sonar equipment, ground-penetrating radar, and 2 submersible camera drones. They reached the depression, set a base, and lowered the first drone. It descended for over 500 meters, without touching bottom. Its lights illuminated smooth stone. Curved grooves spiraled down the wall. Not like erosion, but like engineered channels. Then suddenly the lights flickered. The feed blurred. Flash of movement, like mist, but metallic. Then nothing. The second drone was sent. It never made it back to the surface. Neither did the team. 3 weeks later, the camp was found. Empty. No sign of struggle. No equipment. Only a message carved into a metal container. IT breathes. Subsequent data revealed something stranger. The shaft was not isolated. It was part of a pattern. Multiple similar anomalies were found across the Sahara, each forming a geometric design. A hexagonal grid, spanning hundreds of kilometers. Each node, a vertical shaft. The same depth, the same diameter, the same silence. It was as if they were connected, not by tunnel, but by function. A machine, or a prison. Something old, something vast, something hidden in plain sight. In 2020, researchers studying seismic activity noticed a low-frequency hum, emanating from the shaft's location. It repeated every 12 hours. The pulse, deep and steady, like a heartbeat. The sound was below human hearing, but instruments picked it up clearly. It didn't match any known geological process. It was regular, like a signal. And the strangest part, the hum wasn't traveling upward. It was spreading outward, along the desert floor, as if the Sahara itself was listening. Recovered footage from the initial drone showed something else. The shaft's walls were not just smooth. They were black, not painted, but made of a material that absorbed nearly all light. Laser scans revealed no reflection, only absorption. The material does not match any known desert stone. It is unknown, possibly artificial. Engineers say it would take modern equipment years to drill something that perfect, and yet this shaft had no tool marks, no dust, no debris, as if it was formed in a single moment. Was the Sahara shaft an ancient ventilation system, an access tunnel to a forgotten base, or something far more disturbing? One theory suggests it was a pressure valve, built by a lost civilization. to control energy, or atmosphere, from deep within the Earth. Another theory, whispered only in closed academic circles, suggests the shaft was not built to let something out, but to keep something in. A seal, an anchor, a mouth that must remain closed. Because if the shaft breathes, and the Sahara listens, then perhaps the desert is not empty at all. Perhaps it is watching. The Sahara is not silent. It hides more than bones and sand. And beneath its endless dunes, the shaft remains, unmapped, unmeasured, unwelcoming. It waits in the dark, its purpose forgotten by time, but not by function, because some things were not meant to be found, and some doors were never meant to open. The desert does not forget, and neither does what sleeps beneath it. Chapter 14. The Echo Tunnels Beneath Antarctica. At the bottom of the world lies a continent wrapped in ice. Silent, unyielding, forgotten. Antarctica, the most desolate place on Earth. A frozen wasteland, untouched by time, and buried in secrecy. But beneath this endless ice, hidden under kilometers of frozen silence, are tunnels, not cracks, not natural caves, but vast, arched passages, carved, not formed. And in those tunnels, there is sound, not from outside, but from within. Whispers, echoes, and rhythms that do not match wind or water. Only one word fits what they carry: intelligence. In 2002, a team of climate researchers operating near the South Pole detected a strange acoustic pattern while drilling into the Ross ice shelf. The sound didn't come from above. It came from below, a slow, deep pulse, like a heartbeat beneath the ice. Thinking it was seismic activity, they sent sensors deeper. What they found stunned them. At nearly 2 kilometers below the surface, their instruments picked up perfectly timed echoes. Not random vibrations, but structured pulses. Even spacing, repeating every 11.3 seconds. The signal bounced through what seemed to be a hollow chamber, an enormous cavity, where no such void should exist. In 1938, a secret German expedition mapped parts of Antarctica, long before modern imaging. What's strange is that one of their maps clearly shows a series of large underground tunnels, marked with cryptic notes. The term Uij eternal caves, was scribbled beside one section. This was dismissed as fantasy for decades, until researchers compared that old map with modern topography and ground-penetrating radar. The alignment matched. Exactly. A tunnel, at the same coordinates, descending deep into the ice. Was it a coincidence? Or had someone found these tunnels long before we had the tools to explain them? In 2014, scientists at the McMurdo Research Station tested a new seismic probe by sending controlled sound waves into the ice. The results came back normal, until the probe entered one of the mapped voids. Then the wave changed. The echo bounced back stronger than expected, sharper, as if something inside the tunnel had replied. The scientists sent different frequencies, and with each one, the echo changed, not just in sound, but in rhythm. It was as if the tunnels were listening and answering. Near the base of one tunnel, temperature sensors recorded a consistent 3 degrees Celsius anomaly. In Antarctica, where even the air can reach minus 60 degrees Celsius, this was impossible, but it was real, and not from geothermal activity. The warmth was concentrated in a narrow line, running deep into the earth. Scientists theorized that something beneath the ice was generating heat, not a volcano, but a mechanism, something that still functioned, or never stopped. And what's stranger, the heat pulsed, in sync with the echo. In 2017, a private contractor visited the tunnels under military supervision. They described walking through a narrow, curved passage, lined with stone so black it drank light. No echoes, no noise. But as they moved deeper, they experienced something unsettling. Thoughts faded, words vanished mid-sentence. Time slipped. One man claimed he forgot his own name. For 3 minutes. When they returned to the surface, their memories of the experience were blurred, as if the tunnel didn't just muffle sound. It muffled consciousness. To this day, the strange pulse continues. Every 11.3 seconds, without fail, seismic sensors across Antarctica register the vibration. The frequency is so precise. It resembles man-made timing. Yet there are no machines, no cables, no structures, only ice and silence. One physicist noted, "It's not that something is making noise. It's that something is repeating itself." As if beneath the continent, a cycle runs on and on, like a machine forgotten by time, or remembered only by the tunnels. In 2019, satellite images briefly captured what looked like an excavation site in a remote section of Queen Maud Land. Weeks later, the image was replaced, and when checked again, that location was labeled as Ice Anomaly, no data. Insiders say that the excavation revealed a hexagonal platform, leading into one of the echo tunnels. The platform was not natural. Carved symbols lined the edges. And in the center, the hole, descending further into the unknown. Before anything more could be revealed, the site was buried again. Not by snow, but by order. And sealed. What are these tunnels? Some say they were carved by an ancient civilization, long before the ice claimed the land. Others believe they were built by something else. Not human, not native to Earth. But there is a third theory, that the tunnels are not built at all. That they are alive. That they shift and change. In response to us. That the echo is not a machine or signal, but a voice. And that voice is still speaking. We just haven't learned how to listen. Antarctica remains the final frontier. But its silence is not empty. It hums. It watches. It waits. The tunnels beneath the ice still breathe. Still echo. Still guard their secrets. Because some places were meant to remain cold. And forgotten. But the echoes grow louder. And we, whether ready or not, are getting closer. Chapter 15. The subterranean grid beneath the Pacific Ocean floor. Beneath the largest and deepest ocean on Earth, where pressure crushes steel and light dares not reach, lies a mystery so massive, so mathematically precise. It defies logic. The Pacific Ocean, vast, merciless, and unknowable. Its floor stretches for thousands of kilometers, broken only by volcanic ridges and tectonic scars. But somewhere near the center, far from any coastline, a pattern emerges. Not chaotic, not natural. A grid, not etched or eroded, but built. And what lies beneath that grid may rewrite everything we know about history, about power, and about what once ruled this world from beneath the sea. In 2011, a satellite mapping project by NOAA accidentally captured a set of geometric anomalies just west of the Nazca Plate. Researchers reviewing the bathymetric data spotted a rectangular pattern, perfectly aligned, spanning nearly 200 kilometers. At first, it was dismissed as digital interference, a glitch. But when the region was rescanned months later, the pattern remained. A perfect grid, intersecting lines, equal spacing, like a circuit board carved into the ocean floor. Suddenly, access to the full resolution maps was restricted. Files were renamed. The anomaly was labeled Data Artifact. But the original team had already archived the footage. And what they saw looked deliberate. The grid consists of dozens of straight lines, each over 30 kilometers long, intersecting at right angles. No known geological process could create such order. Underwater currents do not flow in rectangles. Tectonic shifts do not obey geometry. Yet this structure did. The oceanographers consulted mathematicians, who ran spatial analysis on the layout. The verdict? It followed a Fibonacci-based expansion sequence, one used in modern architecture, for efficient energy distribution. But this pattern predates any known civilization. It is buried beneath 6 kilometers of water, and 3 kilometers of sediment. Whatever built it, did so long before we ever walked upright. In 2013, a deep-sea probe was deployed near the anomaly. As it descended, instruments recorded a sudden stabilization in pressure readings. Normally, the deeper the descent, the higher the pressure. But here, near the grid, the probe experienced a neutral zone, a thin pocket where pressure did not rise. It stayed constant. This is not possible under natural laws. The probe's lights flickered. Its compass spun. And for 43 seconds, its sonar returned only silence. Not static, but absence. As if space itself had folded in that section of the sea. A separate expedition in 2017 sent sound pulses through the region to analyze the density of the seafloor. Normally, the sound bounces back, based on sediment and rock. But here, the signal returned something dense, and metallic. Even stranger, the echo contained harmonics. Frequencies layered on top of the return ping, as if the object was resonating, not like stone, but like a chamber, one capable of vibration, or communication. Some theorists have proposed that the grid is not a structure at all, but the top of something buried, a ceiling, or worse, a lid. They suggest it's part of an ancient network, built by a civilization that thrived beneath the oceans, one whose existence has been erased, not by accident, but by force. If true, then what we're seeing isn't just design. It's infrastructure, a power matrix, a containment field, a system built not for humans, but for something else. In 2021, a low-frequency test was conducted, using a towed sonar system across the anomaly. The moment the pulse reached 19 Hz, sensors picked up a sudden rise in vibration. The grid hummed, not just a passive echo, but a rising tone. Then, without warning, One section went completely silent. The sonar stopped working, and the water began to vibrate subtly. Divers weren't deployed. It was too deep. But even at the surface, the ship's hull trembled. Then it all stopped. The grid had reacted, briefly, but undeniably. It had heard the signal, and it had responded. In Polynesian legends, there are tales of a great machine beneath the sea, one that pulses with power, that breathes like a beast, and controls the ocean itself. They called it Ringgura, the two-sky gate. Some believe these stories refer to the grid, that ancient sailors saw the surface change, felt the water churn, heard the low hum of something unnatural, and encoded it in myth. The Pacific may not just be an ocean. It may be a veil over something built long before our stories began. If the grid beneath the Pacific is a power system, then what is it powering? Is it dormant or active? Some researchers think it could be stabilizing tectonic stress. Others believe it emits energy, subtle enough to escape detection, but potent enough to affect magnetism. Still others say it is a lock, a cage, a final mechanism designed to keep something sealed at the heart of the world's deepest sea. And the grid is not a structure. It's a warning. The Pacific Ocean holds more secrets than we dare imagine. Its floor is vast, its depths unknown, and now, we know it hides design, mathematics, machinery. The grid remains untouched, buried in silence, and humming in the dark. But the moment we understand what it truly is, we may wish we had never asked. Because some structures were not built for us, and some patterns are not meant to be solved, especially when they answer back. Chapter 16. The hidden core beneath the Himalayan temple. High in the Himalayas, where the air thins and the clouds touch stone, lies a temple forgotten by maps, weathered by time, carved into the side of a mountain. Its spires pierce the sky, and its silence echoes louder than prayer. But beneath this ancient sanctuary, hidden beneath the floors walked by barefoot monks, is something no scripture speaks of. Core, buried deep within the bedrock, not of myth, but of function. It hums without heat, pulses without motion, and responds only to silence. The temple above is sacred, but what lies beneath feels alive. The monastery is known to only a few, tucked away near the Indo-Tibetan border. It has no name on records, no road leading to it, yet it stands. Massive stone pillars, circular carvings older than Buddhism, and a prayer hall shaped like a spiral. Monks claim the temple was not built, but uncovered, and that they are not worshippers, but watchers. Every day, they chant in patterns, not for enlightenment, but for containment. And every night, they seal the floor with salt, always in the same pattern, a symbol with no known origin. In 2015, a team of Himalayan geologists noticed a strange vibration, emanating from the mountain where the temple rests. It was not a quake. There was no epicenter, no rupture, just a low, oscillating frequency that pulsed every 9 hours. Sensors placed around the site showed something even stranger. The vibrations did not spread outward. They moved upward, as if something below was rising. But no surface displacement was recorded, only rhythm. The monks were unfazed. They simply lit incense and closed the inner sanctum. A Western researcher was permitted to visit in 2016. He described the temple as unnatural, too precise, too perfect in geometry, as if not carved, but shaped. He was led to the inner sanctum, a chamber beneath the prayer floor. Square walls, carved from a single stone block, and in the center, a metal ring embedded in the ground. It was not rusted, not scratched, not touched by time. When he held his breath, he said he could feel it vibrate, faintly, like a living heart. The monks said nothing, only that it must never be opened. Later, a fragment of the embedded ring was secretly scanned. It was not steel, not iron, not any known alloy. Its atomic structure showed perfect symmetry, and it emitted a weak magnetic field, despite no power source. Scientists labeled it impossible metallurgy, an artifact too advanced for its surroundings. And yet, it had been there for thousands of years. But perhaps more disturbing, the scans showed layers. Beneath the ring were chambers, spiral-shaped, descending into the mountain. The temple was not built above it. It was built to cap it, like a lid. In the temple library, hidden behind old scrolls, a manuscript was found. It was written in Brahmi script, and translated roughly as, "The stone of breath sleeps beneath. It must never awaken. Chant to still its dream. Silence is the seal." It described a ritual performed during eclipses, where monks gathered not to pray, but to hold the silence. They believed that the core beneath them could hear, and if disturbed, it would respond, not with sound, but with release. In 2018, a magnetic anomaly was recorded near the temple, Compass needles deviated by 17 degrees, only within a 300-meter radius. Beyond that, they returned to normal. This distortion moved, shifting location by a few meters each month. One physicist called it a magnetic tide. Something was cycling beneath the mountain, not molten iron, but something concentrated, controlled, alive, and most chilling. The cycle aligned with the monks' chanting schedule, as if the chants kept it in place. During a brief political dispute in 2019, the temple was evacuated. For 72 hours, no chanting was performed. On the second day, sensors picked up a spike in infrasound, frequencies below human hearing. Animals fled the region, birds vanished, and inside the sanctum, a statue cracked cleanly down the middle. The monks returned urgently. They resumed the chants, and the infrasound stopped. The silence had screamed, and it had been heard. Theories swirl like the mountain mist. Some say the core is a relic from an ancient race, a power generator buried long before humanity. Others believe it is a prison, holding something not dead, but dreaming. And a few believe the core is not ancient, but futuristic. A beacon left by travelers from elsewhere, still pulsing with its original intent. But all agree, the monks know more than they reveal, and their rituals are not superstition. They are guardianship, because whatever breathes beneath that mountain should never rise. The Himalayan winds whisper through the temple stones. Snow falls without sound, and the chants echo across the peaks. But beneath the stillness, in stone that predates gods, the core remains, pulsing, silent, waiting. It is not asleep. It is listening, and it remembers every footstep above it, because some sanctuaries were built, not for worship, but for warning. And in the shadow of the temple, the mountain keeps its secret, for now.